Hello. So, an apology that's not followed by changed behavior is simply called a lie. And lies are a form of manipulation, and manipulation is a form of control. People who generally seek that type of control do so because in their own mind, it gives them a sense of superiority or power, and in some instances can offer them a sense of relief. Because people who need that type of control, what they're telling you is, my heart space is not open enough for me to take responsibility for the way that I feel, to be accountable for how I behave, how I make others feel, and how I feel. My heart space, because whatever's in there, I'm not ready to face. It's too much, it's too hard, it's too painful. And so I'm going to sit in my mind and navigate the world by controlling things. They're telling you, my heart space is not open enough to consider your feelings. I can only consider my own. And because they're trying to avoid all that stuff that's in their heart, they have that feeling, that overwhelming need to control. Control. But control is an illusion. I mean, do we really have control? How much control do we really have? You have control over some things, but you certainly don't have control over other people. And so when somebody truly feels remorse, true remorse, what happens is their heart space opens and they're able to feel the impact that their behavior had on somebody else. They have more empathy. They can feel what the other person is feeling because of their own actions. And they don't like it. It doesn't feel good. It becomes a reflection on them. And so in those moments, that becomes the catalyst for changed behavior. So if somebody's giving you a whole lot of lip service, and they're telling you everything that you want to hear, oh, just so perfect, all the right words, and it's just presenting it so well, and oh, maybe they even have got the tears coming down their face, but they're not changing their behavior, they're telling you, my heart space is closed. I'm not accountable for myself. I don't want to feel what's there. And I can't consider your feelings because I can't even consider my own feelings. How on earth can I consider yours? Okay? In those instances, you absolutely do not owe that person a relationship because you're demonstrating self-love and self-respect, self-worth. You're not going to continue to put yourself in a situation where somebody's mistreating you or doing things that hurt you and not considering your feelings because you love yourself. Like that. It doesn't matter who it is. It doesn't matter if it's your family or somebody you've known for 20 years or someone you really love. And that's the thing. I see that we've been surrounded by so many people like this. That's part of the challenge of the life that we took on. But in those situations, we've wanted so badly, we've desperately wanted these people to really care about the way that they made us feel because we cared about them, because we cared about the way we made them feel. But there wasn't that reciprocity. I do see there was a lot of effort put in and try to get these people to understand how you're feeling, to try to change, to try to get through to them. Like, can I just get through to you? Don't you see what you're doing? They don't see what they're doing. And so it's a lot of wasted effort. It's a lot of disappointment. It's a lot of just time spent and grief and heartache trying to have people that you love you the same way. But you can't control the people. In those situations, we really do have to step back from it and put our own self first, as hard as it might be, as heartbreaking as it might be. Because some of these people were your parents. It was your siblings. It was your aunts and uncles and cousins. It was, your best friends or your twin flame or somebody that you thought you were going to spend the rest of your life with. And so the reality of that is hard to digest. And I do see that there's a little bit of going back and forth with these people where it's like, what can I say? How can I present it? How can I get them to see what they made me feel? And it's like, some of these people just don't care how they made you feel, because in order for them to care how they made you feel, they would have to feel so much stuff that's there that they're not ready to face, or they're not capable, or they feel like they're not strong enough, or just too much for them. It's too painful. And there's no judgment. I'm not giving judgment if somebody's in that space, although it is very painful for the people on the receiving end of that. No judgment for it, but the focus is not on their behavior. The focus becomes on, what do you need in this situation? Are you getting what you need? How long are you going to stay in a situation that doesn't feel good to you before you realize that you're not going to change that person? They're not there yet. And in order to preserve your own self, like, how much are you going to tolerate? Many of us have had to walk away from these types of dynamics with these types of people. We've had to be that, we've had to really develop that level of self-love to do that. Because, when you are raised in dysfunctional dynamics, if you're raised by a narcissist, or you're raised by a very dysfunctional, manipulative person, chances are your level of self-love has been tampered with, because your method of survival was pleasing that person, not pleasing yourself. You had to shut down what you were feeling, which is probably that disconnect, that mind-heart disconnect that you've been working so hard to reconnect, that coherence that you've worked so hard to establish again. But when you're in those dysfunctional situations, your self-love gets affected, your level of self-love. And so, you've had to develop that. You've had to develop that step by step, situation by situation. And it's very uneasy. It feels very uneasy. It feels sometimes like maybe you don't deserve that level of self-love, but you do. You deserve it. You're worth it. You're good enough. You are. You're worthy of being loved correctly. And that's a lot of the challenge of healing, is taking the impact of that dysfunctional, toxic behavior that it had on us as children, and the belief systems we adopted because of it. When somebody is mistreating you, you think, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me. When you're a child, when you're not fully developed, you think, maybe there's something wrong with me. You identify with that, and then, it messes with your level of self-love. And so all of that work that you've been doing to try to reconnect with yourself, love yourself, sift through those beliefs and reprogram them or update them, bring them into alignment with the truth, with what your soul feels, your higher self, with what God feels, that truth, that real love. That's been the work. That's been the challenge. Because when you have a really healthy level of self-love, it's almost like second nature. Like, why would I want to be around that type of energy? Why would I want to do that? Why, you get to a point where it's like, okay, well, you've shown me every which way who you are. So now I'm going to focus on who I am. And I'm somebody who doesn't allow others to mistreat me. You know what I mean? It's like that level. So just circling right back, I'm going to end it right there. If somebody is not changing their behavior, then they're trying to control the situation. And if you are in a state where you are growing, you're motivated to move forward, to grow, to like reach a level of self-mastery, and you're hanging around with people who are not motivated to do that, they don't have those same goals, that energy is not going to be in alignment with you. That energy is something that you might have to put space there for your own benefit, for your own purpose, and for your own mental health, mental and emotional health. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's worth it. And you know that. And I love you. And I'm proud of you. And God's proud of you. And keep taking care of yourself. Keep honoring your needs. Keep putting them first. If somebody shows you one time that your needs aren't important, that's enough times. That is enough times. You don't need to go for round 2. Although you might, because maybe there's a little bit of hope, but people's behavior is a language. And so no matter what their mouth is saying, what their actions are saying is just, is probably more important, because actions speak louder than words, as we know. So I'm gonna leave it at that. I love you so much. I hope you have a really beautiful day, and I'm sending you so much love, so much healing energy, so much comfort, so much peace. Take care of yourself. You are so important to this world, and you don't know anybody anything. Okay.